This is an important video for me anyway. But it is about unlearning to care what people think. Something I've struggled with. And this is prompted because of something that happened last night into this morning. It's not important, and I won't really mention it too much here, but suffice to say, it reminded me of certain aspects of the Bionicle community and other fandoms as well that, in my opinion, are usually best just to kind of steer away from. These opinions. Backstory. Okay, so yesterday I posted a video about a minimalist mod that I did with the Perditus set. I would love to show you the original, but I only have one of his helmet. Apparently, I'm pretty positive I had two at some point, but suffice to say, I ended up posting the modded version, who is standing right in front of me online on a public forum for what it's worth, so I knew criticism was going to abound, though I was not looking for any criticism, and that's okay. Both things are okay. That said, of course, people did criticize it, and that's fine, because we don't all have the same opinions, the same things that we like, but suffice to say, what I was trying to achieve here was something that looked very different from the character that came with the Thornatus set back in 2009. To me, I like Perditus in terms of his aesthetic, but to me, it doesn't feel right for the way I define 2009. And I very specifically want to emphasize how I define it, because this is involving my own headcanon, my own opinions. Which means that when I produce something like this, if someone else has a different idea, a different attachment to this character from the original story, then this may seem like an alienation of this character. But this was really just an experiment, a thought experiment, if nothing else. I thought to myself, if I take the Perditus set and just swap out the dark gray for a different color, would people like him more? I think I would. So I built him yesterday. I showed the version in the video yesterday, which had even less changes from this version here. And I liked him. I thought he was great. So I decided to go ahead and share him in that video and decided to modify him further after the video went live. In doing so, I chose to go more heavily into the dark red and Keto Orange color scheme, a color scheme that is shared by several other characters, including Malum back there, which you can see, right? And so, people were obviously criticizing that, and that's fair. I don't think it's necessarily a problem if two characters share the same color scheme. And also, the character does use the Malum claws on the shoulder, which I thought was a nice and clever way of using that piece. It's not something I'd seen before. It's not something I'd done before. Surely it has been done, but it is a lovely piece, and I wanted to feature it here. I also, in my own view of how 2009 is handled in Bionicle, I like to think of it like this. 2009, in terms of characters, they don't really have elemental powers, but I feel like they associate with elements. The villages associate with either elements or specific aesthetics, right? And to me, the Fire Tribe really goes in pretty heavy for that fire aesthetic. So you get characters like Malum, like Ranu, like Ekar, all of which contain fire motifs somewhere on their character. Maybe just one, but usually more. Perditus, however, lacks these, and that's fine, because as I expressed in the story, the way I look at it is that in my headcanon, again, that this character essentially would wear the dark gray in the vehicle, and I basically chalked it up to the reason being he doesn't want to draw attention to himself, right? Granted, if you actually think about it for more than 2 seconds, I think yellow would be the more appropriate color to go with than dark red, because dark red's going to stand out a lot more against sand than I think yellow would, because the colors are more similar there, right? But suffice to say, I didn't put that much thought into it because it didn't need that much thought. I designed something, I liked it, and I decided this is the character that this is. You can assume, or you can think that this alienates your perception of this character, and that is totally fine. That is totally valid. But just as much as characters like Tahu Nuva and Tahu Mystica change greatly between their appearances, this character can too. He can wear a different shirt, right? He can change his colors for maybe different events. The way I see it for this character, the way he is right now, is that this is more of like arena garb, right? So he wears this into the battlefield, if you will, when he wants to be seen, when he wants to be that sort of taunter, and not so much this more dark, stealthy maybe kind of character. Not to say that he is those things. I don't know that much about Perditus as a character, and that's fine too. But the reason I mention this, the reason I bring this up in this video is because there's an underlying issue here that I want to address. Again, I am aware that I published this on a public forum and thus was going to receive criticism on it, and that is fine. But I wasn't looking for criticism because I'm happy with how he is. And so if people wanted to mention, hey, I think you should change this thing, that's fine. But that's not really how it went down. Rather, people would say, oh, I don't want to paraphrase them and I don't want to put words in their mouths, but along the lines of, it's not the same character, right? Or I don't think that is the way to go with the character. Like you shouldn't do minimalist mods, for example. And why not? Here's the thing. At the end of the day, your version of building is just that. It's yours, right? It is your expression. You can do the simplest thing. You could take a character like Tellerus up there and change his color to blue and call him a new character. Or at the same time, you could say, oh, well, blue in the story was the character of Iron, so maybe he wore that color before. Would it look like a different character? Sure. Would the build be the same? Sure. You could do a minimal mod to him where maybe you give him ankle guards or something else and change his color. Maybe you take the dark gray out of him. Would he still be the same character? That's up to you. That's the point I'm getting at here. So this just got this on my mind, but this in and of itself is not what I consider toxic, right? Again, at the end of the day, people have different views on what should and shouldn't be done. People have different sort of ideas about who you might be as a creator. And so when they follow your path when they follow your story and you do something different, it can feel a little bit like that relationship has changed. But at the end of the day, I don't claim to be a master builder or some great mockist out there because I do not think that I am. I do know that I'm talented. I'm good at what I do, but because I put in time, I dedicate myself. And I also don't tell other people that they're bad at what they do because who am I to say that? Just because I think that I do good work sometimes doesn't mean that my ideas of good work is going to be something that other people agree on. You know, I put a lot of work into the Ice Elemental Lord up there, and I shared that video, and at the time, it did not get a lot of views. There weren't that many people that were that interested in it, and that's fine, because I love it. I had so many people tell me about how that leg design was wrong, but I didn't care. I pressed on anyway. And now I get a lot of people praising it. And that's fine, too. Don't get me wrong. Even if that had never changed, right? Even if people had still criticized his leg, it didn't matter because I liked it. And it spoke to me as what that character was supposed to be, the way that I felt. At the end of the day, when you create something, you are the arbiter of your opinions. I don't really know what else I want to say. Your voice, though. Your voice is yours. It is uniquely yours. It is, if you have no other skills, and trust me, you do, but if you don't think that you do, the one thing that you do have that no one can take away from you is your voice, is how you express yourself. And my journey here is to teach you to express yourself as freely as possible because I have lived the life where I've kept myself silent, where I've bottled everything in, and it's not worth it. You lose pieces of yourself each time you do so. Each time you choose not to stand up, each time you choose not to speak out, you're erasing yourself from your own history, from your own story. And that's not worth it because your time here matters. Your voice matters. The work you do, the things you appreciate, the things you love, the things you're passionate about matter. And if anybody else doesn't like that, that's fine. They don't have to because you're not doing this to impress others. You're not doing this for anybody but yourself. I build Bionicles unashamedly, because I love it. Because I have spent so much of my life hiding that fact from people. I've spent so much time, and I got comments on the last video that I talked about this, about how many people felt the same way, right? How many people used to feel ashamed for liking a kid's toy, you know? Because I've been there. I know how that feels. We don't share the same story, but we can relate. We have that empathy. So when I build this character and people want to say, oh, well, it looks like a car, right? I mean the character, not a vehicle. That's fine, because you know what? As much criticism as a car got back in 2009, I love him. I think he's a wonderfully designed character, even if he is still an Anika build. He looks great. I don't know why I have 20 of these swords, literally, but he's a wonderful set. And if you want to look at this at Perditus, which this is, it might not be your Perditus, but that's fine. But if you want to look at this and say it looks too similar to this, that's fine. At the end of the day, maybe there's a story reason for that. Insert your story. You're always allowed to take inspiration from something that already exists, from someone else who has already done the work before you, but you're just as allowed to blaze your own trail. Even if you do it in your own way, right? Maybe it's easiest to take that path in a car, but if you want to truck it, if you want to walk. Take your time. Do it however you feel like doing it. Hone your skills, practice, enjoy it. There's no reason not to. The only thing you lose by not expressing yourself is yourself. But that's pretty much it. So, long story short, the Bionicle community does have a reputation for being toxic, but it's not. It has toxic aspects, as every fandom does, but it is a beautiful, wonderful place full of the most creative people I have ever met and the most diverse community I've ever been involved with. Part of me likes to think it is why I am where I am today. It's not solely why I'm there, though. I'm also myself with my story, and that defines me too. So, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. But even if you're not subscribed, thanks for lending your eyes. I know that I've said that a bunch like it's funny, but now it's not funny anymore. I'm just saying it because it's routine. With that said, of course, make sure to leave your comments, especially if you have a story like this one. I know that this is a fairly simple one. I want to keep names and things out of it, places out of it. But suffice to say, I don't mind what happened today. Because at the end of the day, it only reminded me of these things. I don't want to claim that the people making remarks like this are toxic, because I don't believe that they are. But with that said, you can check out Discord, Instagram, and Patreon in the description if you want to support what I do here, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.